call to order the February 7th, 2023 meeting of the North Andover Planning Board. Pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2002, this meeting of the North Andover Planning Board will be conducted in person and via remote means as in accordance with applicable law. Specific information, the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, in-person attendance of members of the public and board members will be permitted. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting live may do so on their television by tuning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26 or online at www.northandovercam.org. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceeding as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in public hearings but not attend the meeting in person, please email your question or comment prior to or during the meeting to Gene Enright at jenright@northandoverma.gov. The question or comment will be read during the proceeding and responded to accordingly. Okay, we have two A&Rs that we'll start with. 231 Middlesex Street, 157 Waverly Road. Oh, sure. Why not?
Why not? So Kelly Cormier,
See, I guess we can. Kelly, are you present? Can you hear us? Let's try someone else.
Sounds like, it looks like she's speaking, but we can't hear.
Or see. Alyssa, John, can you hear us?
Just keep going on a reboot the machine, see if we can get this going. We just had audio a second ago.
No. We don't have a quorum. Well, we do actually. No, we don't. We have two. So we've got to wait.
three can approve and, oh, no.
It's not a quorum, though.
Yeah.
It's a funny looking Patriots towel you got there.
It is. It's called Patriots the right way. I went to the liquor store today and bought all Pennsylvania brand beers.
Nice. You start with Yingling first?
I did.
Yeah, of course.
Yingling, the standard, that's the easiest, just kind of your regular. Then I got Victory.
Oh, nice.
I got two things of Victory, one Golden Monkey and one something else, and then I got Trogs.
Trogs, yep.
Yep.
Good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
I was trying to figure out. Anything further west, I think, is more Pittsburgh area anyway. And the only thing out there is like Rolling Rock. I was like, that. I can't stoop that low.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Not since college. I was telling one of my paralegals today about that I was going to get some Pennsylvania beer. And I'm like, oh, there's Rolling Rock. She's like, oh, what's Rolling Rock? I'm like, well, we kind of use it as a sports drink. Like, if you needed to rehydrate, you either had water or Rolling
Yeah,
Rock
yeah.
because they both are mostly water. So.
Let's try it again.
Hello.
All right, the audio sounds better. Can you try again?
Okay,
so
we're going to
Kelly,
try to
we're gonna-
take roll.
Kelly Cormier,
Here.
remotely. John Simons,
Here, remotely.
Alyssa Koenig,
Here remotely.
Eitan Goberg,
Go Birds. I'm present.
Sean Kevelin,
Here.
Peter Boynton.
Here.
Okay, that's everybody. All right. 231 Middlesex Street, 157 Waverly Road. Lot line change. Is anyone here for that? Come on up.
How are you?
Ah, wonderful.
I'm acting on behalf of my mother. I'm a trustee for Judith K. Martin Early Living Trust.
Okay. What are you looking to do?
So, we had already bought the property about 2 or 3 years ago, and the foundation guy made a oops. And so now we have to, in order to conform with the 15-foot setback, we've got to buy another foot. So I'd like to get that resolved right now.
Okay. And so are both lots owned by the same?
Two different people, both have signed the application.
I see.
And he has a letter of authorization on behalf of his mother to speak to the A&R. So the bump out is not the entire lot length, it's just where the foundation
It's
is
just the
in order to
32
meet the.
feet of the building.
So you bought the property, the lot line is, the 15-foot setback is off by 8 inches, is that right?
Yeah,
So you're buying that 8 inches from.
I'm buying a foot,
A foot,
Buying a foot, oh.
just to be
alright.
sure.
just to be
Just
safe.
to be safe, buying a foot from your neighbor, and
Yeah.
we're redoing the lot lines accordingly. Okay, rather than go for a variance. That makes sense. Anybody have any questions?
Yep.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve the 1-foot A&R, 231 Middlesex Street, 157 Waverly Road, Martinelli Froberg lot line change?
So moved.
Motion made. Since I'm here live, I will second that. All in favor, John,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Peter,
Aye.
and I vote yes. You have yourself
Thank
another
you.
foot. All right. 53 Middlesex Street, Elaine Thornley, new lot line, which creates a not buildable lot. Hello.
My name is Paul Vieira. I submitted a signed letter in behalf of my mother-in-law. Basically, we're looking to split off, as per the plan there. It's actually designated Parcel X. She's pretty much looking to sell that parcel to the budding neighbor. She doesn't need it, she's elderly. And we're just looking to reposition that lot line, pretty much square off both lots, or both proposed lots.
Okay. So Gene, tell us a little bit about this?
Yep, so Lot A currently includes Parcel X, so they're adding just a short lot line there to separate Lot X from the rest of Lot A. Parcel X is to be conveyed to an abutter. My understanding is Brian and Kelly Cheslowska will become part of their backyard.
Is there
So-
access to lot?
No, it's labeled not a building lot, so they're
Okay.
going to convey it to them, and then it becomes one whole lot.
Okay.
So there's no access to it. It's just, she's just breaking off a piece and selling it to her neighbor. And she has more than enough area to do so. So she still complies with access, frontage, and area.
Gene, do we have to put CBA to get contiguous building area on this?
No, because it's an existing built-out lot, and so the building commissioner has already reviewed it, has no concerns, and Conservation Commission has no wetlands in the area, so. Because it's adding a lot line. It's not creating a buildable lot.
Gene, can you scroll down just a little bit for that top right? No, other way. Okay.
So, I guess, so why, I'm sorry, so why do an A&R? Why not just sell that, why not just sell, I'm selling you X parcel of my land and now it's part of your land?
Because she has to now create her new lot, which is this one. She's eliminating part of her boundary. So,
I see.
so
Okay,
Lot
all right.
1A is now a new lot. Parcel X will get conveyed to the neighbor. And technically, they would need to come back and make that all one lot
Right,
as an
okay.
A&R.
Okay.
I've seen
Yeah,
it done
yeah.
and
Right.
not done.
Okay, all right.
But-
So the lot we're creating really is lot that has, okay. That's
Not
where
a
my
buildable
confu-
lot.
The lot that but right, there's parcel X, but lot 1A is gonna be a new lot,
Yep.
which does meet zoning and which does have access.
Yep.
And- Okay, that was my confusion, because I'm like, how can we create a lot that doesn't have access and doesn't have, either if we label it not buildable, that's not subject for an A&R, but we're actually,
Yep.
lot 1A is the one that has access and all of that, then we have a not buildable lot. When they come back, once they buy that, then they need to do,
Yep.
and to show that that's their lot. Got it, that's fine.
They can
Okay.
do either a perimeter plan or an A&R. Most people do an A&R.
I was thinking backwards, because we were talking about parcel X, but really lot 1A is the one we should
Yeah,
be.
I should have taken the GIS image. If I showed you that, you would have seen.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to think why there's no access for parcel X, but that's fine. Okay, all right. Questions, comments? Now that it's seeped through my brain. Can we get a motion to approve the 53 Middlesex Street A&R plan?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor. Kelly,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Peter.
Aye.
I vote yes. All right, that's approved.
Thank you very much.
Took me a
You
little
can
bit
leave the
there.
Mylar with me and just pick it up tomorrow.
Okay.
Use-
Public hearing, 0 Turnpike Street, 1701 Osgood Street, and 14 Second Street, 149 Main Street have all asked for continuances until February 28th, 2023. So those will all be continued until February 28th, 2023. Gene, do you know if any of those are close to being ready for our next steps?
1701, I expect, I could even prepare a decision for the next meeting. They're just waiting to close out stormwater. There's been a stormwater review, a response to that, and the stormwater reviewer has given final comments, and I trust they'll be able to close those out.
What's our next meeting after that?
After the 28th,
Yeah.
the first Tuesday in March, is it the 7th?
So I'd rather, because it's been so much time in between when they were last here and when we were here, and because it's, you know, a central location and an important, certainly an important project, I don't want to do a decision without having one more full hearing.
So this is for 1701 Osgood, the self-storage
Oh,
facility?
you said 17, I thought you
Yeah.
said, I thought you said Main
No,
Street.
1701.
Never mind, I'm sorry. I thought you said, never mind. All right, scratch that. That's fine.
Yep.
Draft a decision for that
The other one I don't anticipate will be ready to close.
Okay,
So-
good, all right. Wow, I'm off today. Okay, all right, great. What's next? Discussion items. Potential zoning bylaws, so anyone have any comments, well, let me ask you, Gene, have we gotten any, public comments about the inclusionary housing requirement?
We have not, and I shared it again with Edgewood, and I haven't received any comments back.
Okay, we'll move forward with that. Have we received any comments about the floodplain?
We have not, it's in somewhat of warrant article form now, where it has an introduction and explanation. So town council is reviewing that at this point, but I haven't gotten any recommended changes to it.
Okay, so let's talk about the Dover bylaw then.
So for the Dover bylaw, I've done some, I would call housekeeping. So Peter, to your point on watershed special permit, this pink comment here was a note to council.
Can you
I
expand that?
I think this clause addresses it, and she's given me some assurance that it has, so the other applicable bylaws will still be applicable. So that watershed special permit, in her opinion, and again, I'm waiting to get written comments, but in her opinion, they would still need to go through a watershed special permit, as well as wetlands, which we spoke about, and floodplain would all still be required, according to Mass General Law.
Great.
Okay. Thanks for looking into that.
Okay, and then this was all here before, so the waiver provision, I added or limited site plan review. We have waived site plan for Merrimack College to do church renovation and a couple others in the past, and so I would envision that that could be appropriate again. This was all here before, so this is the whole site plan piece. In site plan, I think I mentioned before, I did some housekeeping in the design guidelines, and they came as a recommendation to an audit we had done by Merrimack Valley Planning Commissioner associated with the stormwater reg update we did. And so it's just tying some of those things into site plan. So that you'll see it in the environmental. There's a small stormwater runoff increase and minimize flooding, things like that, nothing material. 6 has an edit. And then, again, 9 is at their recommendation. And 10, I added because the bylaw we've been kind of using as a baseline is the town of Concord, and they have this under their limited site plan. It's probably in their site plan as well, I just didn't look, so I've added it. Again, I just thought it was good practice. So just site plan. And then for revisions to site plan or limited plan, if they're material, I have them coming back through the process again. And then here's the meat of it, 819 and on is limited site plan review.
So Gene, when you started this, just so we're clear, the purpose is to take things, items, uses that are covered by the Dover Amendment, and instead of subjecting them to the site plan review, which they don't actually need to go through under state law, subjecting them to the items that are actually covered under 40A Section 3 and just having a process for that, correct?
Yep, so I called it limited site plan because it removes the special permit requirement for site plan. That's really the meat of it. It's not by special permit, it's by plan review. And it specifies in B really what Dover covers. So the reasonable regulations that can be applied are listed here.
But to qualify for this, you still have to be something that would
Yep.
qualify under the Dover Amendment, or religious use and educational use.
Yep, and so under applicability, I have as solely determined by the building commissioner, because it's really his role to determine it. And I've actually, I don't think we've gotten to them, but I've added definitions as well.
I just for the, I mean, there may be other things that might be appropriate to have a more limited review, but I think for the purpose of this bylaw, we're not ready to go there. We haven't had a discussion about what other items might be, what other uses might be more appropriate for limited rather than site plan. So I think this is more, not necessarily housekeeping, but making it consistent with state law. And I just really want to keep it with just the things that are listed under Dover.
Yep. Understood. But what I was going to introduce today is the town is looking at defining a municipal use and also handling those somewhat different than site plan review by special permit, whether it's layering it into this bylaw or its own separate bylaw. Still a little early, but that's in the works. And so obviously we're up against a timeline now.
So I think if we're going to do that, it should be its own discussion and its own amendment, because municipal use is not under
Right.
Dover, right? Educational is, and a lot of times those dovetail, right? Like you have an educational project, a high school, a middle school, or whatever, qualifies under Dover because it's educational, not because it's municipal.
Yep.
So I would say it's a good discussion to have, but it should be a separate discussion. If we're going to have something where we make municipal uses under a different category for whatever reason, I think it should be a different bylaw.
So maybe if you have some availability later in the week, we can have a quick call with town council?
Yeah.
You can share your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, do what other people think? I mean, I think there could be things that are municipal that could be a limited site plan would be appropriate for, but I could also think of things that wouldn't be appropriate for. It really depends on the size of the scale, and municipal projects could be tiny or they could be giant and have no impact to giant impact, and I really wouldn't want to call out everything municipal, because that means if the government touches it, then there's so many different things. That seems a little too much.
Yeah.
And we can still handle those as necessary on a one-off case, right, each time if they come up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as of now, I mean, there's a reason we have site plan review for big projects. So, I mean, for educational and for religious, there's a reason. Listen, I don't love the Dover Amendment to start with. To be honest, I think that a lot of the uses really should just go through site plan, just because they're necessarily educational or religious or whatever, and the fact that they're not taxed and they get all these exemptions, I don't love it, but that's the state law.
Yep.
And if we have the law, we might as well have a process that allows us to more adequately follow the law. But I don't necessarily think we should be expanding
Town
it.
council's reviewing case law associated with municipal uses, and I'm told some communities exempt it altogether from the zoning bylaw. They have an internal review committee, and that's what they do. So
I'm sure we would be happy to have that discussion. At first blush, it seems to me like terrible policy. But we can have the discussion, but it should be a discussion, and it should be if there's a draft bylaw or some ideas of what kind of things, but I don't know. I mean, municipal use is so broad that could be anything. I mean, if there wants to be a town-owned hotel or restaurant or banquet facility or You know, like, let's say you're in a big city, and, which we're not, but, you know, and they own a convention hall. That shouldn't be part
Yeah.
of site plan. That doesn't make sense to me as an overall
Yeah.
general thing. We could be convinced, but we're gonna have that discussion. So, yeah, I'm available, but skeptical.
Yeah, I guess I had sort of, it never had completely dawned on me that the only things included were religious and educational, and if that's the law, then we should narrow our bylaw to cover just that, so I agree.
And let's just be clear what it is. MGL
Yeah.
40A Section 3, right?
Okay.
It's let's just say it is. Well, let's see. 40A Section 3 covers. Oh, my screen is too small. No zoning ordinance, blah, blah. So we have single-family houses. Religious purposes or for educational purposes on land owned or leased by the Commonwealth or any of its agencies, subdivisions or bodies politic. So land leased by the Commonwealth or any of its agencies, subdivisions or bodies politic, or by a religious sect or denomination, or by nonprofit educational corporations. And then we got some public utility stuff. So that's basically what it
And
is.
daycares.
And
which
daycare,
go
right,
further.
well, those are educational, yeah, right. Educational, yeah.
This-
Daycare is classified as educational.
It's classified as its own use, a daycare center. And it has varying ages, so up to 6, and then once they become school age, and then for special needs type schooling
And that's in ours or just in?
in Dover. It's a childcare facility.
Oh, maybe I'm just, childcare facility, yes. Childcare facility is in the next paragraph, thank you.
And they specify just different ages and types of daycare centers that do meet the requirement.
Right, childcare facility, family childcare, I mean,
And so for that one, again, in looking at the Concord bylaw, they actually protect residential districts, and so I've included those protections here as well, which is really typical for our zoning. If a use such as this immediately abuts or is in a residential district, it has some restrictions.
yeah, that makes sense.
I guess this is what I was thinking of for the watershed, to articulate that in that area, this does apply, but you're saying that that's not needed for us to call it out like this for the watershed?
I'm still having conversations with town council. I don't think it is needed. And I don't want to be that granular because there's other special permits they very well may have to go to as well.
But actually, so I like the clause that you showed us earlier, that other permits would apply, but would there be any reason that we couldn't do something like this in a watershed protection district or in something that abuts a watershed? And I don't know if that is too broad, if that covers too much. I'm not sure how many properties abut that or if that's worthwhile.
I really like the idea of an approach like this for the watershed or abutting, because it calls it out. And I think it has a very, let me put it this way, if a residential district is important enough to call it out, which, you know, I think it is, watershed is, you know, it is of importance to every single person in town.
And we don't necessarily need the same exact restrictions,
No,
right? It doesn't
no.
have to necessarily be the same, you know, you're not worried about the density of it so much, but as what kind of materials you're using or how close it is or
Correct.
what kind, yeah.
You could even just say the requirements of the special permit for a watershed district. I mean, it can be general, but to call it out in this kind of sub-paragraph, I really kind of like that approach. But, I mean, part of this is just sort of technical aspect of formatting.
Right, and
But when I saw it used here, I thought, okay, that's kind of what I was thinking about.
right, and I not necessarily as to child care center, but just in general.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right, right. It wasn't that comment wasn't strictly related to child care centers. I don't think child care centers have a particular
Correct.
effect on the watershed, but just that these Dover uses, that if something abuts the watershed or is in the watershed, that maybe we need to have extra precautions or extra regulations, or the watershed permitting, those criteria. Maybe we can put in some of those criteria apply.
Thanks.
I think it's a good idea. At least see it as a draft and see what it says.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can even talk to, that's Brooks, and there's not too much else that I can kind of think of off the top of my head that,
not currently.
currently, right. And I actually have less worry about the current than I have to what could be there
Yep.
in the future, right? Someone sells, the golf course sells something, and what's that going to become? That's where we need to be careful, and having the extra precautions, I think, is a good thing. Rolling Ridge, right, which is exempt under, definitely. Is Rolling Ridge an exempt?
I would say they'd fall under religious.
I would think so too. So, depending on what they're doing, again, depending on the use that they're using for what they're doing, they could as well. So, those are the two big ones. Okay, Jane, I guess that's why we're here, right? To make comments and
Yep.
see what we can do.
Yep.
Okay.
So 1821, I added in response to, remember the last draft in Concord, the planning board would provide the ZBA a
Yeah.
report, because their ZBA is the one that permitted site plan review, not planning. And so I think this is overkill, because I think 810D already covers this, but again, this comment I've sent to town council.
Okay.
All right, and then everything else is pretty much the same. For the appeal period, all I did was strike the Mass General Law reference and just say to a court of competent jurisdiction. Everything's appealable. It's,
Right.
we can't,
So just, you gotta get rid of the as set forth as well,
okay, yeah.
just grammatically.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Gene, just a general question. It seems like going through this and trying to understand it all and what's here, it seems what we're doing, not to simplify it too much, but it's kind of general housekeeping and aligning with the state law to make sure that the town has a process to work through that, but it's not changing anything for the average, for the residents of North Andover. It's just creating a process to align with state law. Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, it's creating a process in alignment with state law. The difference really is that discretionary special permit, Kelly. And when you read through site plan, there's certain criteria that you have to make findings on, and this is kind of separate for that. You have reasonable regulations that you can apply, and there's 9 of them, and this bylaw specifies those out.
And we would have done those before anyway.
They all, yes, through site plan review, you would look at each one of those.
Okay.
And
Right.
so the information required, the packet includes a application as well. And I copied everything that's required for site plan, with the exception like a full-blown traffic study. Instead, the application has how much peak traffic, internal, external, things like that. There's some traffic questions. And fiscal impact, there's some fiscal impact summary that we want, but it's not a full-fledged fiscal impact and community impact.
The thing we're trying to avoid is that if someone had let's say, an educational use, and they submitted a plan, and we said, okay, go through site plan review, and they said, no, we don't have to go through site plan review because this is Dover, and let's assume they're correct, then we do have, the planning board does have certain rights and things that we can, weigh in on, but there would be no process for how to do that. Like, they submitted a plan, but they're saying we don't have to go through site plan review, which they'd be right. So then what do we do? Because we can weigh in, but how does that process actually work? What do they have to submit? What criteria can we actually use? Like, instead of, the law says we can look at setbacks and we can look at heights, but how do we actually do that? This sets up how we actually do it in a situation where Dover is in play.
And in the end, it really can't be denied.
Right.
But if they can reasonably meet your requirements, then they have to. So that's in the end. And remember, during the Rowcrest, redevelopment
Yeah.
proposal, people were under the assumption, oh, it's Dover, they won't have to have any review. Like, there was this belief that just because it's Dover, they wouldn't have to come before anyone. This really solidifies that that's not the case. There are certain criteria that you do get to weigh in on, and this formalizes it.
So this doesn't lessen anything that someone qualified under the Dover Amendment would have to do. It just clearly gives a process and states what it would be and makes it clearer, but doesn't lessen any, for example, in that, if someone builds something that needs a traffic study, this doesn't lessen what they would have to do, just clears what they would need to. So, and I'm saying that with a question mark.
If they went through Dover, I mean, sometimes.
If they went through Dover, assuming
Right.
they went through Dover.
Right, because sometimes, like Merrimack has gone through the special permit process or gone through and got waivers, and so we've kind of avoided the confrontation and the issue about it. But yes, you're right in that it doesn't allow for anything less than what Dover already allows for. It is less than what site plan requires. But again, it's just avoiding the situation where someone says they don't want to go through site plan, which we haven't had yet.
Oh, yes, we did.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry, we did with the.
Yeah.
And because we didn't have this bylaw, they avoided it altogether. So they didn't come for the
Yeah.
reasonable regulations.
Okay, so right, so that was the kindergarten, right, John?
Yeah.
Early
yep.
childhood.
So the kindergarten project didn't go through site plan because
Nope.
it qualified under Dover. If we had this, they would have had to come before the planning board to go through this limited process, correct?
Yep.
So in a situation like that, that's the one time it would have applied.
Yes.
Right. And then just one more question. So in the section where it talks about the appeal, this doesn't change what the process would be for if someone did want to appeal a decision of the planning board. It just outlines what the state law would be.
Well, I actually think we should probably just even strike the appeal sentence. Like you can go and do whatever normal state appeal that you can do, whichever statute you can find that under, right?
Yep.
Because I mean that's the sentence now says you have whatever rights you have to a court of competent jurisdiction. Well, you always have that, right?
Yep. It was one of my suggestions, but again, it was just a conversation with town council. She threw this as an alternative as well. But-
So your suggestion would be my suggestion would be just to get rid of it
Strike it
entirely.
altogether.
Yeah, and the only reason to have an appeal sentence in there is if you're specifying a manner of appeal. This just says you have whatever normal appeal rights you do. So I would just strike it.
Okay.
That was it. Thank you.
Okay, great. It's a great initial draft, Gene. I think we got some good comments. I think it will. It's hard to say like what it will help us sometime in the future. We just don't know when.
Yep.
And
And
it'll be beneficial.
The one other thing, and again, I mentioned it before, and town council's still thinking about it, but daycare's in our bylaw today in all the other residential district, well, I think residential and commercial districts, they specify daycare by special permit. And so it's a use special permit that is with the ZBA. And if you remember, you recently waived one on
Right.
Pleasant Street and 120. That went for a use permit with ZBA. They always have, and I don't know how we've been able to do that for this long. So I want to sunset that special permit requirement so that they have one place to go, which is the limited site plan. I just don't want to do a warrant article that spans every single article for uses. So I'm hoping we can come up with some creative language that just says it's sunset elsewhere in the bylaw.
Okay. All right, so we'll continue all of those until February 28th.
So the public hearing actually opens on February 28th. So I go
Okay.
to the Tribune with the legal ad on Thursday, prints Monday and the following Monday, and then the hearing opens, and the calendar lays out 3 public hearings as traditionally have happened.
Okay, great. And so when's the deadline? So we shouldn't anticipate any other.
Again, other than the municipal use, I don't know of any other. And then, of course, citizen petitions are sometime mid-March that they could come in, but I haven't heard of any.
I haven't heard of anything, yeah. Maybe everyone's all petitioned out. One can only hope. Okay. All right, calendar. May 16th annual town meeting calendar.
So again, I just included it, I just told you what it was. So it was just to let everybody know that we go, again, the presumption is that the planning board would sponsor these 3 articles that we've been discussing, and then the calendar lays it out that the public hearing opens at the next meeting.
Okay. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes from January 17th, 2023?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor. Alyssa,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Peter.
Aye.
I vote yes. All right. I think that, anybody got anything else? Okay, I think that's everything. Our next meeting is February 28th. Before that, we have February break, so I hope everyone enjoys that. Before that, we have the wonderful Super Bowl this weekend.
Oh, you had to get
I
it
know
in.
your New England Patriots aren't playing in it, but I hope everyone can still root for the Philadelphia Eagles. There you go.
Let me just see if I got any emails. Hold on. I did not.
Well, we can all sing the fight song at the next meeting.
Hey, Tom, we're ignoring you, if you haven't noticed.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second. All in favor? Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
John? Alyssa?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
Vote yes. Good night, all.
Good night.